Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers, podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. My name is Callista, and this is
Lou!
Gasp! No, I don't have a different co-host. We are starting off with a name change.
Well, let's talk about our genders today.
Oh, sure.
What is your gender for today?
My gender for today is, I don't know why, but I'm feeling like 50s housewife that poisons the husband.
Is that because we've been watching Mad Men?
Yes, 100%.
You guys, she's watching Mad Men for the first time. And just to be clear, I am not one to shame anyone for like not having watched something. I'm a huge lover if you've never seen something that I love, because then that means I get to enjoy it with you for the very first time. And I'm so fucking excited.
Yeah, you get to take me on this journey.
Yes.
It's almost like you're like living vicariously through.
It's why I love traveling with people when they've never been somewhere before and I've been there.
Yeah.
Like anytime that I'm doing anything for like a second and third time, it is so much more enjoyable than the first time. Because the first time I'm usually like, oh my God, there's so much happening. So I am so excited.
What does your gender feel like today? I say it as you take a swig of water.
Yeah, I'm drinking water. I realize that my voice sounds really crackly. I'm gonna say that I feel like a squashmallow.
Nice.
But in like I still am not in my body fully, like over this last like 2 months of just like insaneness.
Right, we have talked about that on the last episode.
Yeah, we did spend some time. I'm like rubbing my arms. If I look like I'm being weird, it's because I've got some pretty bad like ulnar nerve problems in my arm right now. And particularly starting like 30 minutes ago, it got really painful. But yeah, I would say that I feel like more accurately, like Guinness's squashmallow. It's like a big, colorful unicorn, but it's big and it's squishy and it's like just doesn't give a fuck. Like it's just existing.
It's living its best life.
Yeah, there are no rules for it. Guinness will punch it in the face a bunch.
Yeah, and it bounces right back. It's like,
that's how I feel right now, like a giant squash.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good, I'm glad. Well, do you want to talk about your name change?
Okay, yes. So we're going to start there.
Yeah.
We opened up a shop. So for anyone who didn't listen to the last episode, we opened up our own tattoo shop.
We sure did.
Callie Lou's.
Yep.
Shout out to us.
Right. Shout out to us.
We're always giving shout out to other people. Shout out to us.
It's been a journey.
We're still going to probably do like a full episode where we like dissect more about it, because I know that like we get really off topic. But I've had a lot of people being really confused because I have my name on there as like Gaia, but also / like G Lou and / Lou. And if you know me, then like Lou is definitely a nickname that I love and prefer. And I've tried to have nicknames my whole life. And the stupid part about having a name that's unique and a name that is short is that no fucking nickname works. I think I did spend some time in 7th grade where everyone flipped their names, like the genders of their names. So like all the dudes in the class went by Michelle, and it lasted a couple months, and I went by Guy, and I loved that. It felt like way more like accurate of like, yes, that is it. That is like, it just resonates more with me. But I'm going to take you guys on a tiny little journey of, it's probably not going to be tiny, of my name change. Because if you've known me for a really long time, you know that my original name was Gaia Townley. That was my dad's last name. And when my parents got divorced, I was very indoctrinated into the beliefs of my mother. And though it is historically accurate that women take their father's names and then their husband's name to show property, I then had a discussion with my mother when I was 11. She was divorcing my dad. I think I was probably 10 when we like talked about it. But my full name was Gaia Victoria Marika Townley. Shout out to being fucking Hispanic. We cannot have enough names.
Nope.
You need all the names ever. So Marika was like a name that my mother had created as a combination of my brother's names, Mark and Adam, which I think is iconic because she's very like anti like, or at that point, she was very anti men's names and didn't want to take another man's name. So she didn't want to go to her father's name or like her ex-husband's name or like keep her current husband's name, any of that jazz. And so instead I was like, hey, why don't you take my name? Because you gave me this name, which is hilarious because it's made up of men's names. But why don't you take this name? And then when I'm 18, I'll change my name. And then my daughters will have my name and we will have this like female names running through, and like my sons can have their father's name, because at that point I believed very much in the like gendered stereotypes of like a son is his father's property and a daughter is her mother's property. And that's because that's what I was like raised to believe, like very much that I was just an extension of my mother. Hello, toxic family environment.
Introducing trauma.
Yeah, introducing trauma. So then when I was 18, I changed my name and I just basically dropped Townley. So then it was Gaia Victoria Marika. And I still never loved my name. So I never understood that all those like studies where it was like, hey, someone's favorite word is their name. So if you say their name a lot, it makes them feel more connected, more seen, all that shit. And I've always had this like prickle of my name. So anyone who sat in my chair and like has mispronounced it hears me go on this whole tirade about how like, I don't care. I'll answer to like Gaia, Gia, whatever. Gala, I don't care, because my name has always been a point of contention with me. I hate the fact that it's different. And though I understand that like a lot of people love that, it super sucks when your first introduction is people struggling with your name. And as somebody who struggles with words a lot, it's really painful for me to be the reason why someone's struggling. That makes me cry. So it means that my first interaction with people is for a lot of people a place of shame, because they're like, oh, fuck, I fucked that up. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So a lot of my first interactions around my name is people saying sorry, which is why I was like, I don't fucking care. Like, I didn't pick my name. I don't give a shit about my name. I think it's pretentious to be named after a Greek goddess for Earth. I don't like the fucking, like, and really anything about it. And recently, we have a friend who has changed their name. And I realized that none of us judged them. We weren't like, oh my God, this is difficult. And it's not to say that we don't use, like, their previous name, because, like, that's what we got to know. And, like, it fucking slips and all that.
Happen. Yeah, totally. But they're harmless because we are immediately correcting, you know. Yeah,
we're correcting ourselves. And they are so amazing about it that, like, they don't fucking, like, rub it in and be like, you fucked up, you dead named me, nothing of that.
Yeah.
So it's been a very healing, like, time for me to be like, you know what? I'm going to change my name. Which I'll tell you what Caboose said in just a second, because it's fucking hilarious. But that being said, I am going to legally change my name next year. It's going to be my birthday present to myself, because it is a big old hassle. And for anyone who's like, oh my God, blah, 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 it's so much work. That's fine. I like work. I've already done this once. I did it when I was 18.
But it's also not work that you're doing, so why does it concern you? If that's the first if that's the first knee-jerk reaction of like, oh, but it's so much work, maybe sit with that.
Yeah. And to be completely honest, like, I wasn't in a place, like, I knew that the place that I worked at was not willing to, like, go on that journey with me. No. Because my name is such a big part of my brand, partly because, like, I did that for social media, and I just wanted to, like, make stuff really easy.
Yeah.
And also, like, no one ever was like, yeah, I'll just willingly call you Lou. Like, I've had a couple people throughout my whole life call me Lou. And so I was like, well, no one's going to fucking accept it. My work is going to make it super difficult. They're not going to change my email. They're not going to change my business cards. They're not going to fucking do this. Like, I already know this. When I broached this topic with them, they were like, fuck no, that's not happening. Yeah. They made a big deal when another artist wanted to change theirs. They made a big deal over your email that was incorrect to then getting it correct. So I just knew that it wasn't worth the fight. And then it wasn't worth the fight with, like, clients. So that being said, if you're still calling me Gaia, that's fine. As of next year, it will formally go over to Lou. So if you do love me, you enjoy me as a person, Lou is my preferred name. That's a really big thing for me to ask, because it is one of those things where I don't want to be an inconvenience to people. But that is my preferred name. And so if you would like to refer to me like that, I would much prefer it. My plan was just to do a big old flip-flop next year and be like, all right, well, this is my fucking name. Get used to it. But I'm instead going to do, like, a slightly, mildly, couple month, like, gradual transition where, like, my social media will then, like, you know, now it has Lou in the name. And then I will eventually drop it. And I asked Caboose what his opinion was the other day. You can talk about your opinion in a second. I know I'm, like, hogging the mic.
No, dude, you're totally good. I'm in it. I'm in this. Right now, I feel like this must be what it's like to be a listener of the podcast. It's great. I'm in it.
But, yeah, so I asked Caboose the other day, because I have been struggling with my middle name, like, what I want my middle name to be, and I finally, like, sat on it. And don't worry, you guys will have a good little chuckle. Callie's already laughing because she already knows what it is. But I was like, hey, like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, do you have any opinions? Because you're married to me. This is, my journey is your journey, vice versa. And he was like, no, I don't have any opinions. And I was like, well, you're allowed to have an opinion. I was like, one way or another, I'm still doing this,
right.
But like, I would like your input. And all he said, and this was like while we were walking the dogs, and it was so cute. He's like, I don't have an opinion, but I do have to say it's the most you thing to do to just completely change your name. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that is an opinion. And also as somebody who like for him to say that for me, like as like his partner and the person that like he like knows the most, I felt so seen that I was like, thank you. Like, that is a perfect, beautiful opinion that, yes, it is me. I live with my first name for 18 years. Mm-hmm. Townley also never felt correct. Probably because my whole name didn't feel correct. My middle name, Victoria, I don't fucking give a shit about. Marika, I don't care. I think it's visually pretty on paper. I think that name is like visually attractive. Mm-hmm. I like the amount of A's, which is iconic because then I'm going to lose a bunch of A's. But then, I was like, and then I'll live with this one. He was like, so are you going to change it another 18 years? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just come with a bunch of name change documentation. Like,
that's beautiful. Well, that's the thing is like, I think a lot of people forget that your existence, your life, you can tailor your experience in this lifetime however you want. So truly, if that means changing your name every 18 years or every 2 years or every, I don't know, every day, then that's what that means. Again, the whole purpose of life, I think, is to live as authentically as you can and to fucking enjoy it while you're here. Yep. So anything that you can do to make this, to tailor your existence on such a, think about it, our existences are so small. It's such a small, tiny little time frame on Earth. Anything that you can do to tailor it to the way that you would enjoy it, fucking do it.
Yep.
Send it. I love that.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell them your middle name?
Oh, yes. So then, so my future name will be Lou Bear Berry. Bear, yes, like the animal. Because, and I'll tell you guys at like a later date, I'll tell you now, like where Lou comes from. But my whole life, I have been a bear. My dad, when I was very little, called me Baby Bear. Bailey is Bailey Bear. All the things in my life are bears. That's it. And ever since I was little, because I was called Baby Bear, I identify with bears. I love them.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
Shout out to the fattest bear this week. They finally came out with a winner. Forgot her name, but shout out to that bear.
Me! That's me! I'm the fattest bear this week. But yeah, so then that was it. And then when I told Caboose, and he was just like, that's hilarious. And it happened purely by accident because I was making jokes about Bailey getting her knuckles tattooed. Bailey, our dog. Yes. Getting her little knucks done. Right. And it would say like, we couldn't fit mommy's girl on there because she doesn't have enough digits. So
one says, what was it? A heart, Lou, and then bear.
Yeah, Lou Bear.
Yep.
And then I was like, wait, what the fuck? Why don't I just sit with that? Because I liked the idea of EG being my middle name, so that way I could be like, Lou is short for Luigi. Because also, Luigi, I love it. It's such a great name. It's beautiful.
God, it's
but
so
I didn't
funny.
want my middle name to be Egg.
Yes.
So I was like, fuck. And I didn't want my fucking, like, Leb to be my initials. So I was like, you know what? LBB. I will be LBB.
LBB sounds great.
Yeah. I was like, that's a fucking totally fine thing.
It's a good DJ name.
Yeah. So if you're a client and you're getting an email and it ends saying, talk soon, Lou, I am Lou. Lou is Gaia. Gaia is Lou. It will make a formal transition next year.
Your official government name
will be Lou Bear Berry.
Yes. Which I love this whole journey, and I love the fact that, like, you mentioned something earlier just now saying that, like, oh, yeah, I was planning on doing a hard transition. The podcast is our shared diary. So this is kind of part of that, right? Is, like, processing, like, okay, so here's the reason why. Here's how I came up with this. Here's, like, all the ideas beforehand. Because, like, when I asked you, I'm like, oh, yeah, Lou's great. And then you're like, yeah, my whole name will be Luigi. And I was dying laughing Because that was because most people would think that it was short for Luis or like there's another like
I still love Luigi, and it's really hard for that to not be my fucking full name. But also I really do just Lou is like it. But Luigi is so funny.
Luigi's hilarious.
So good. And it just rolls off your tongue. It's such a good name.
Well, it's just comedically hilarious because when people are like, what is Lou short for? And you go, in all seriousness, Luigi. Like,
because in my heart of hearts, that's what it is. That's what my actual full name is Luigi.
Yes.
But that I don't want to write it down. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not even sure how I would spell it. Like, nothing. I would just be like, I don't know.
It wouldn't be the way you want to spell it because Lou by itself is L-O-U. Unless I've been spelling it wrong this entire time.
No, it is L-O-U, yeah. It's like Cindy Lou Who. That's where it comes from.
Exactly, like Cindy Lou Who. Luigi, with Mario and Luigi, it would be L-U-I-G-I.
Yeah, and so that's not correct.
Yeah, that's not it, you know? And plus, Lou Bear just sounds amazing.
Yeah, Lou Bear that's it. Yeah. And because, like, I don't know. If you can pick your fucking name, why not get a name that you're excited about? Well, yes. Why not, like... I was thinking about that, and I was like, if your name is supposed to be meaningful, like, it's meaningful because, like, we
talked about this with Brandon on the podcast, right? Yes, and his name is so fucking cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Battle. Ugh,
yeah, iconic name. And I still stick with the fact that I think it's stupid that somebody else gets to make your name your name.
Is it Battle? Sorry if it's not, Brandon. Love
you. I think it is. But if it's not, it should be. That's great. Yeah. But like, yeah, I think that like I've had that struggle my whole life of like, why does somebody who doesn't know you get to fucking decide your name? Totally. And then people are weird if you don't want to go by that name.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up because again, if you think about it, it's the whole, I mean, it's, if we're going to get deep, like it's the most tangible, I guess, like example of generational trauma that like people could really think of as like the whole like, oh no, your existence was set by the people before you. And that's not true. Again, part of tailoring your really short time frame here on planet Earth is owning your existence and, you know, making sure that it's something that you want to experience.
Well, and that's the thing is like, I've had a middle name that other people are like, oh, I think Victoria's really pretty. I'm like, yeah, but I
don't. If you don't resonate
I shared 2 names with my fucking mother who abused me. I don't want that. I don't want to fucking walk around my life and be like, hey, yeah. And like Caboose said it perfectly when I was like, well, I told her like, oh yeah, you can have that name because you created it. So like, we'll share it. I was like, and he's like, yeah, but like you were a kid. So just because you agreed to that as a kid does not mean you stick with that forever. True. And when we got married, I was like, no, I don't want to take his last name because I didn't want to fall into those trappings because I very much was still in that. And now I'm like, no, I want to share your last name with you because like we are a family, like we are together. And like, I love like the idea of sharing his name with him, which I have to say on a side note is iconic because my mom didn't want anything to do with like men or any of that when I was growing up, like it was a very anti, like, I guess it was like that far swing of like the anti-patriarchy, but in that like borderline man-hating is like how I grew up, that like every problem was men and not that like people are fucking people. It has nothing to do with their gender.
But the patriarchy directly also harms men. Like,
yes, like taking none of that into consideration. And then now it's like, okay, so one of my names was given to me by somebody that I would say was probably the first person as an adult that like saw me for me and like genuinely like understood the soft side of me. Like that was the whole thing, was that I was Cindy Lou Who, and like then she would call me Gaia Lou. And because she was like, yeah, like you're tough like Cindy Lou, but like you have nothing but heart and you bring a heart out in other people. And that always sat with me, which is why Lou, I was like, that's it. Like that's who you are. Like you are a Lou. But then like my middle name given to me by my dad because I'm Baby Bear, and my last name is my husband's name, which is iconic because it's like everything that like I was taught to not do, but now feels like the most correct thing to do.
Totally.
And like, I understand I don't have to change it legally for anyone else. Like every person I've talked to about it, it's like, oh my God, there's so much work that I have passports and all that jazz. But to me, it is a big deal because I don't want to die with this name, feeling that this name is the wrong name for me. Absolutely. And that's the point. That's the whole tailoring your experience. And that's, I mean, when people asked me originally, like,
why New Zealand? Why do you move to New Zealand? Like, why do you want to move out of the country? I would always say, if I can't picture myself dying in this country, then why should I live here?
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
Period. So again, if you can't picture yourself dying with that government name, then don't even like force yourself not to. And again, the whole work thing, work ain't nothing to us. Come on, we've got such a high tolerance of work. And we're like,
I'm totally fine to file these papers. Yeah. I've done this before. I know what it's like. Oh, I guess that's the last thing that I have to say is that, like, I have been so embarrassed about that paperwork because I did it when I was 18. And my mom gave me the money for it as my 18th birthday present. Yeah. Which is also so fucking weird, but also why I think it's iconic to do it for myself for my birthday. And the paperwork says on there, like, it's something along the lines, I should have grabbed it before this, but like to disassociate myself from my father because I'm not his property. And when I was telling Caboose about it, he was like, you know what you should write on your fucking paperwork? He's like, this time around is to disassociate myself from my mother because I'm not her property.
Period.
Because when I asked her what to write, because I was a kid, I was 18, I didn't fucking know. Yes. And I was like, what do I write when they say, what's your reason for changing your name? And then I fucking was like, okay, well, I was like, I don't know what to say. And I just took her words verbatim and I wrote them down. And ever since then, anytime I've had to give that paperwork to somebody, like for anything like official, I am mortified because I'm like, oh my God, this is so cringy. Like, what the fuck? But now when I change my name, and I honestly might just do that because it's fucking hilarious, because then I will have to present for anybody who needs that name change documentation beyond that first initial like steps of name changing. I will have to present both because I've had multiple aliases at this point in my life. So it will be to disassociate myself from my father and then to disassociate myself from my mother. So I personally think that's hilarious.
I think it
and also very, yes, it just like equalizes to be like, because I finally became my own fucking person.
Yeah, like how beautiful is that story?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I mean, you can say it's cringy looking back at it, but from my point of view, I think it's gorgeous just because it really does speak to like, it's a timestamp of where you were at that point in time.
I think it's cringy to me because it shows, it's the same way that like when we watch those like cult documentaries and they're like, I can't believe I fell into this like...
Yeah, and I said that with my whole heart.
Yes, like I said that and I meant it and I fucking did these insane like things and you're just like, oh my God, who the fuck is this person? And though it is part of like your journey in this life, it is that holy fuck.
See, that's why, like, to go on a little tangent here. That's why I've always really struggled with a lot of people. You got to watch out who you watch, like, cult documentaries with, by the way, because I have had an experience before with an ex-partner that, like, I had watched, like, a cult documentary or whatever, and it was very short, and he was just like, I just don't understand how people could be this stupid. Or, like, any kind of, like, true crime documentary or stuff like that where they're like, well, I just, like, that person's a fucking idiot. And I'm like, no, that person, like, made decisions on their best judgment. They got manipulated. And people who always say, like, well, I could never be a part of a cult. Bitch, you think anybody who is part of a cult planned on being part of a cult? That ignorance, and I think it's the cruelty and the lack of empathy for me is a big red flag when people are like, well, they're just stupid. And I'm like, they're just human. Like, you're just kind of being an asshole.
Well, I mean, to bring it into, like, our real life, like, look at, like, the environment we just left. Like,
oh, yeah.
We were a part of that toxic environment and it doesn't happen overnight. It wasn't like you came in. It was like, hey, we're going to oppress people and we're going to fucking put these unrealistic standards.
You'll never feel good enough. You will always be chasing for worthiness. You will never be seen, but you are always going to have to work really hard because
triangulation is a key element of what we're doing.
Yes.
And nobody fucking tells you that on the front end.
No.
You're given these like, hey, these are all these beautiful opportunities, all this greatness, blah, blah, blah. And then it's not until somebody else like helps, or in our case, the Barbie movie, helps fucking pull the wool from over your eyes. And then you're like,
oh, fuck.
Fuck, I've participated in this horrible, abusive relationship.
Yes. And that's not to say that, like, that's the problem. We've talked about this before quite recently, that, like, when you're in abusive relationships that involve a whole group, the whole group participates in the abuse.
Yeah.
And we have participated.
100%.
That's something that will haunt me till the day I fucking die. But part of walking away is knowing that, like, I am going to never be a part of that anymore.
Yeah, like, now we are aware of those red flags.
Yes.
To be like, okay, we're going to broach these, look at them properly and be like, no, I'm not being a part of this. Like, if this doesn't sit with my like moral compass, but I think that's the thing. That's the point we're making, is that you don't start out being like, that's a fucking red flag. It takes being manipulated into those situations, which is why when you watch those cult documentaries, you're like, no, I can see it. Like, I can see, because nobody comes out right and they're like, hey, I'm going to make sure that like I abuse you. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
They're great at first, and then they build your trust up, and that's when it happens.
The earliest, most recent, like, giant cult that got unearthed was based off of, like, self-help.
Yeah.
It was based off of finding your self-worth while simultaneously breaking these people down and taking advantage of them. And if that's the thing, right, is like, it's dressed up as like roses
bettering
and
yourself,
support and bettering yourself and rising above. But in the behind the scenes, all they're doing is tearing you down. So pay attention to the fucking action.
Really familiar to what we just left?
Oh, 100%.
You said that and I was like, oh no, that's
the
what
whole
that was
point
sold
was
to me.
Rise above.
Yeah, get better than everyone else in this industry.
Yes.
Because like, we can be the best, instead of being like, you know what? Every shop has something to offer. Every artist has something to offer.
Every experience is different. You tailor your experience here on Earth based off of what you want to choose. It's a truly pick your own adventure.
Yes.
But instead it was, we're going to put you against everybody.
Yep. We're going to diminish
ourselves.
Everyone around you and isolate you. So that way we can control you.
100%.
And like, don't get me wrong, the fucking emotional turmoil, like, and the emotional side effects that I'm dealing with, and the fact that like, I just repeated the same exact trauma of being abused work-wise and participating in those cycles of abuse that I did in South Carolina, and that like happened with my mom in the fucking shop. And then to like wake up to that here, to be like, fucking shit, you repeated all that same shit of working for free and doing all of these things because you thought that you had to hustle for your worthiness, because these people convinced you that you had to, that like it was never good enough. And where I thought that when I left South Carolina, I escaped that, and I was like, fuck yeah, I've escaped, I'm healed, dope, go me. And then to be like, it is fucking 5 years later, it is almost 6 years, and you fell right back into that same abusive fucking cycle of letting people squash you. Like, okay, let me give a tiny caveat here. For anyone who's been tattooed by me over the last couple of years, you guys have great tattoos. I'm not saying that like trying to suck my own dick or anything like that.
No, they're phenomenal.
Callie sent me a text message the other day. I don't remember exactly what it said.
I can probably relay it.
Perfect. But she sent me this message because I had sent her my like portfolio, and I went down like memory lane with this portfolio, and was like I went all the way back to like South Carolina pictures because I was just like, oh, I'm just like having fun going back and like looking at this stuff. And I personally saw a huge like difference in it.
I think that, okay, again, with the caveat, added to the caveat, people who have been tattooed here in Reno, you have great tattoos. It's harder for you guys to see, I think. I don't know, maybe it might not be, but like as a fellow tattoo artist who knows how intimate this experience is for us too, because when we tattoo people, I understand that they walk away with the final product, but it deeply impacts us as well. That's the part that you guys don't see, is that emotional depth that goes into pieces. So you sent me that portfolio, and I was looking through it, and I had texted you, and I said, I am so excited to see that artist again, because I can see these pieces, and I like, in the non-creepiest way possible, like I can feel you. I can feel your essence. I can feel how inspired you are and how happy you are. Yeah. I'm so excited to meet this happy artist again. Because that's like, I mean, it wasn't exactly the artist I met when I first started my apprenticeship, but I remember first starting my apprenticeship, and I haven't told you this yet, looking through your portfolio. I think I've told you this part, but looking through your portfolio, and you had gone to England. So you were gone for a week while I started my first week. And I was looking through it, and I said, this is the person I want to learn from. Like, if they were willing to teach me, I would do anything to learn from this person, because your artwork was just so you. Like, it was the essence of you. Yeah. And having that same experience 5 years down the line and going through your portfolio so that way I could edit stuff and, like, put it into our online portfolios, I was like, oh, fuck, I'm so excited to see you again. Yeah. I'm so excited to see you again.
That's how I felt looking through it. And like you said it perfectly. And it was that like, no, the work is fine. The work's, it's solid work, but it's like this like filter has been put over. And that's what like when I was looking back through and I could see the exact time that I left South Carolina and then I came here. And it's because I went from like, don't get me wrong, like the shop that I was at there was so incredibly toxic and it was abusive and I was like chronically sick. I didn't know that it wasn't normal to not think about suicide until I moved out here. And like, then it was like a month that I didn't think about killing myself. And I had turned to Caboose and I was like, I didn't know that you weren't supposed to think like that every day. Because I had spent my whole life thinking like that was the correct solution, was that like everything is always so bad that that's the only thing. And then when I got out here, I ran away from that, or more accurately, I escaped that toxic environment. But my clients in South Carolina were genuinely my refuge. Like, so with them, I got to be my whole self. I got to be perfect because quite frankly, my mom was out of the shop a lot. So when she was there, it was bad and it was awful. And it was like, seriously, just terrible.
Yeah.
But then when she wasn't there, people got me for me and I got to be as big as I wanted. And like, I got to just like, I don't know, like share and like mind meld with people. And so like that showed in my work. Cause like, that's the thing that we've talked about lately is that I'm a really happy artist. Like I have to be a happy person to want to create. And then being out here and then that chipping away of who I am as a person and always having like eyes on me, like constantly, and not good eyes. And to be completely frank, I don't want eyes on me anyway, which is really ridiculous that like I have a podcast, we have a vlog, like I'm very public. I'm very like out there with everything. Yeah. But it's not for this like attention thing. It's why like numbers don't matter to me. It's for those couple people that you get to like connect with that like hear it. And then they're like, hi, I'm one of you.
Yeah. Genuinely using social media for, I think, its original intended purpose.
Yeah. Like connection.
Connect. Not for numbers. Not to go viral. Although I will say it's nice. Not for any of that, but to truly just meet like-minded people that you would have never have met before. And that's one of the best parts of our job.
Yep.
But on social media, it's on a global scale. It's not just a Reno scale that we just met these people by chance because we tattoo and get to connect with them and it's beautiful. Online, it's global. How crazy is that?
Well, you get to me, like the more like you have number wise is the more chances of those genuine connections.
Yeah.
So it just increases your odds of finding more people that you're like, oh my fucking God, you're the reason why the world exists. Like those people that like light you up.
Yeah.
But like looking through that, I could see this like just like losing who I was because of that, because like I couldn't speak to clients properly. Like this week, to be able to just honestly talk to clients and be like, hey, we're fighting with the health department.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like we don't want this either. I want to do your tattoo. Or like we got sent really awesome ideas. And to just be like, oh my God, I literally squealed when I read your fucking description. I'm so excited.
Yes.
Like this is amazing. And to be able to like what, you're going to read my emails at most? Like no one's like observing me. No one's like oppressing me. I'm out of that like corporate America, like of a tattoo shop situation where like I can't be myself.
Yes.
Which in turn meant that like I lost who I was as an artist.
It is so nice. I'm still breaking away from that because the first few emails that I sent, they were so corporate. And then like I saw an email where you had sent like a little smiley face and I was like, oh, I can do that now. And it like literally broke me because I was like, oh my God, that made me so happy to read. If my tattoo artist sent me something like that instead of what I've been sending to people, like I would be so stoked. I mean, I would be stoked with the corporate email for sure, but that's only because that's what I was used to. I'm excited to A, meet the happy artist again that you are.
I am too.
And B, figure out who I am away from that environment because so far that's all I've known as well.
Yeah, you haven't had a chance to just fully express. Well, like we talked about that because you were like answering emails on my behalf and you're like, is that okay? And I was like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Like they're going to know. I'm just going to tell them outright like, oh yeah, Callie responded to that.
Yeah. And we're still finding our flow. That's what we've been saying too. We're still finding our flow. Sorry, she's still figuring out who she is outside of corporate American
And then
tattoos.
you were like, wait, I can just answer on your behalf. So like there was
And then I was like, wait, why don't I just sign it? Like, like I could just be honest and be like, hey, by the way, this is Cal. You get used to talking to both of us.
Yes.
Truly.
Well, like, there was a piece and they requested me, but then you were, it's black and gray, and we were both really excited about the Studio Ghibli piece.
Yes.
And then I was like, oh my God. And I just asked the person, I was like, hey, if you're looking for color, absolutely, I'm stoked. We're both really excited about this piece, and we don't care which one of us does it. We just want to see it tattooed.
Totally.
But also, if you're looking black and gray, like, Cal is who you want.
Yeah.
And I was just honest, and I was like, absolutely gonna crush it. That's like her style. It's gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
And then the person was just like, all right, perfect, great, wonderful. And I just got an email from that person. They're like, hey, you booked me on the wrong day. And now I get to be like, oh, my bad.
Oops.
And just be like, sorry, I did click the wrong date. My bad.
That's
that date's
accurate. But like being able to be like, oh yeah, you're right, my bad.
Yeah.
And just talking like a person.
Yeah, just being a human being.
Oh my God, it's so refreshing.
Yeah, and it makes all of these things that are part of a business that feel like oppressive and overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, we have so much to fucking do. Yeah. But then you're like, but I can also just be honest to people. Like, I'm really sorry that it took me this long to get back to you. And I promise it won't take me this long again.
Yeah.
Like, I've just fucking misplaced your email. That's it. And my bad. Whereas, like, we weren't able to, like, speak our truth before, which is what made it so oppressive. And, like, for me, for someone who doesn't like Reno, that before y'all come for me, I just don't. It's not my place. I like green, and it's the opposite of green.
And that's like, okay, you guys. We don't have to like the same places all the time, I promise.
Yeah, a lot. My fucking husband does not like England. He doesn't. Every time we go home, he's like, fucking shit, this weather's awful.
I'm obsessed.
Yeah, you love it. I love it. So it's okay. I don't love it because, like, I want to be somewhere where it is rich with greens, because for me, brown is not a color. I understand that it is, but, like, it is not a color that, like, sparks happiness in me. For people that, like, go to deserts and they're like, wow, this is gorgeous.
I'm impressed.
That's fucking awesome.
Yes.
I'm a little bit convinced you see colors differently than me, but that's awesome because I'm a blue-greens person. Like, I want, like, vibrant tones in my landscapes. And I do not see vibrancy in brown.
I'm obsessed with trees, apparently.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that. Like,
you do
forests,
love some trees.
And,
yeah.
like, I am obsessed with the woods. I'm obsessed with, like, it's just beautiful to see because, again, like, growing up in a place where all of it is desert. And, again, props to the people who find the beauty in deserts. I can find the beauty in deserts for sure. But it doesn't feel the same way. It's like your name, right? Yeah. There's still that disconnect. I can find the beauty in it, but, like, there's still that disconnect where I'm like, oh, but it's not 100% where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Whereas,
so
like, now we have a place where we're able to be ourselves.
Yes.
So it feels like, okay, so even though I don't love Reno, first off, I am so stoked for all the fucking people that have already reached out and, like, connected with us, because I now know that, like, because we are able to show up authentically as ourselves, our clients are showing up authentically, our fucking interactions are better. And so we're going to get clients that, like, once again, pour back into us as well. So it is that symbiotic relationship, because I do have some of those from the previous studios. Yeah. But now to be able, like, before, my clients would know to whisper. Like, we knew to whisper because, like, you can't have genuine conversations. So everything was done in a whisper. And one of my clients literally said that to me, like, when they found out about it. And he hugged me and fucking cried and was like, I'm so excited because watching you be, like, oh my God, it makes me want to cry. He acknowledged the fact that he was like, watching you get broken as a person and have to whisper in our conversations was heartbreaking to sit with. And, like, I think about that, about, like, how fucked that was for all of my clients to experience that.
100%, dude. I think about, like, you know, initially when we made the decision to leave, I was, like, racked with, like, guilt because I was still programmed into believing that I was just always going to chase being worthy and chase a feeling of being worthy, and that I always owed something to these people. And texting my client or my fucking cousin and being like, I'm just so unhappy. And him replying with, you've been unhappy for years. Like, I think you've stayed for too long, quite frankly. Yeah. He's like, you, like, the time that you've spent, the time and the effort that you spent does not warrant anything. Like, you have been in this position of pain for too long. And that was so, like, I don't know, validating to hear, but also so painful, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's that thing. Like, looking through my tattoos and seeing that, like, watching, like, myself, get lost in there, and to like see the like corporate version of me where like I wasn't able to like fully be me. And it's interesting because you can see the pieces that I did when like no one else was around, like when I'd come in on a Monday. Yes. I can see those pieces. You're like, oh, that was just me. That was just me. Or my client was big enough then that I got to like shine a little bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, all the shit that I sent from South Carolina, even, like, I sent, like, Harley, or I was, like, looking, I don't think I sent it, but, like, Harley Davidson, like, Eagle with, like, that, and I could see that where I remember those experiences to be like, God damn it, that was so good, because, like, we just got to say whatever the fuck we wanted to say, and it didn't matter. Like, that was it. Because even, like, when, like, other artists were around, it didn't fucking matter, because I was like, all right, cool, whatever, come for me. Like, are you gonna fucking be mad that we're talking about, like, politics? No. Are you going to be mad that we're talking about the patriarchy? No. Family trauma? No. You're going to fucking join in on it. And like, that's what excites me, is that like now we get to know each other's clients, because I've always wanted to fucking, and like we can occasionally when it would be just us in the shop, where we could do that cross talk and we get to know each other's people. But now it's like, it feels like even though I'm stuck in Reno for another like year and a half on top of like the existing timeline that we had, it feels like I can fucking breathe and like take the time to be like, you know what? There are things that I like about here. And like the people that I do like now get to fully be themselves. And the people that I was like, I just don't think we like clash. Like, I think we like clash, like client artist situation. Like we get to have real conversations, and then they fucking shine. It's like they too, like in my oppression, they were also being oppressed. And you're like, holy fuck, this is great. Like I fucking talked to a client the other day for an hour. For an hour. We didn't do a tattoo. We just did a fucking consultation just for an hour. That was it. I got to see pictures of her kids. It was great. If you hear dogs barking, that's because we have more deliveries happening. Because the poor Amazon drivers have come to our house.
That's what being a business owner looks like. Waffles.
Yeah. She's downstairs. She can't hear you.
She's going crazy. God, yes. I'm just excited to figure out who we are. And, well, I know who we are, but, like, see us bloom and blossom. And, like, have clients also see that. It's going to be... It's so exciting.
Well, and I think it's also to realize that, like, other shops don't hate us as artists either. That, like, that was all propaganda that we were taught, was that, like, every other fucking artist, every other shop, like,
they have a problem
I can't tell you how many times that was, like, that poison was dropped into my ear. So I never went to any sort of events, never did anything, and was like, I can't know any other artists because they all hate us. And then I'd, like, have, like, the occasional artist that would reach out and I'd, like, talk a tiny bit. But I was always like, no, they fucking hate us. And also, like, I'm going to get in trouble for talking to this person. And I just walked around with this, and I'm sure if you guys have listened to the podcast, you fucking remember the episode of my blamable face. And now I'm realizing, like, nah, bitch, that's because you put yourself in a fucking situation where you were blamed for everything because you let these people do that to you. You believed them when they said everyone hated you because they knew your fucking triggers to play, and they fucking played them. They played me like a fucking fiddle, and now I get to just, like, talk to people and fucking make genuine connections and be like, oh my God, because I love the other artists that we've met. Like, I am having so much fun making friends with tattoo artists when I was taught my whole life that I wasn't allowed to be friends with any of them because triangulation fucking works, you guys.
How refreshing. And, like, I won't say names, but, like, hanging out with other shops and, like, getting to know them and realizing that, like, holy fuck, like, you guys have such a positive environment here. Like, you guys actually, like, care about each other, even though, like, you don't see eye to eye on some things or whatever. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you guys are all playing for the same team and genuinely stoked for each other. Like, that's an option.
Well, to not be pit against each other, to not, like, be competing.
Yeah, dude.
But to just be supporting.
Yes. And I just, you know, obviously, our shop, Cali Luz, it's just the two of us.
Yep.
Hopefully, eventually in the future in New Zealand, you know, we will talk about potentially hiring on other artists. But I'm excited to figure out our stride together so that way we can create another safe place for another person just like us. You know?
Well, I mean, I think that's probably one of the most flattering parts is the people reaching out being like, hey, are you guys hiring artists?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Thank you guys so much for, like, sweet. Wanting to work with us.
That's like, really nice.
It's nuts.
Yeah, people wanting, and not even just an artist position, but people reaching out, like, seeing if, like, we're hiring for a social media person or for front desk or whatever. Like, it's been very, very nice. So thank you.
It's so great. On a side note, I have 2 really important things I need to discuss. We're taking a hard left real fast before we wrap up this episode. Why can't men feel their butt cracks? This is very important to me. Why?
Is it general disconnect with the body?
That's what our hypothesis is.
Because I feel like even if like my lower back is like exposed to the air, I can feel that, you know what I mean? And I like, you know, consciously like pull my pants up because I'm like, oh, I can kind of feel air where it's not supposed to be. So for it to go all the way down to the crack, crazy.
But I don't know. So a couple things on that. I don't know if that was taught to us like during middle school.
Maybe.
Because like anytime there would be like the slightest bit of your lower back showing, like comments were made, like you're taught to be aware of that. Because I don't think little kids, please correct me, or actually more accurately, let me know if you're a parent and your kids can like, if they're like pulling up their pants and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's something that's learned and then men just aren't taught that. But we were out having sushi the other day. And this dude had seriously like 4 inches of his butt crack just hanging out. He's sitting at the bar and it's just hanging out. And it's like, I don't know, 10 feet maybe, if even, from like us. And I'm like, how do you not feel your butt crack? And like this goes for like most men in my life that I know. That I'm like, how can you not feel your butt crack? That includes my husband. He will be doing stuff. And I'm like, how do you not feel it? Because like I can feel the moment my pants start to go slightly down.
Oh, for sure.
So like, please, if anyone has any theories, any knowledge on this, if you are a butt crack specialist and you're like, hey, I know exactly why, I would like to know. Is it because there's a disconnect? Is it because they weren't taught that? What the fuck is that?
Tell us.
Yes. And then my other second point of news is that people tell me and Caboose that he looks like Ben Affleck. I don't see it a whole bunch, to be completely honest. I really don't. And I'm not saying that he's not hot, but I'm also just not very attracted to Ben Affleck. Like, I mean, he's fine, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. But and people go crazy over him.
You showed me a picture the other day of Ben Affleck looking really sad.
I said, you want to know what Ben Affleck's famous for on Twitter?
Yes.
His depressing photos. Not any other photo. It's just the pictures where he's sad.
Yep. And then you like gave me like the warning of like, this might be slightly offensive.
Yeah, like I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be like, you know, offensive. I don't mean to like give you a complex or anything. But like when I saw this picture, I understood why people are like, he looks like Ben Affleck. So I showed it to her. And of course, standard, if you're chronically online like myself, Ben Affleck with his sad Dunkin' Donuts coffee, sadly walking around. He's got that face. He's got that like forehead.
The
wrinkle.
little 11s.
The 11s and the frown is so Ben Affleck.
Oh my God. Yeah. She showed me that picture and I was like, that's Caboose.
I'm like, this is the face that he makes, right?
Yes,
like,
they
look the same in this picture.
Yes.
Yeah.
110%. And then I promptly told Caboose. And he was like, great. So I look like sad Ben Affleck. And I was like, well, to be completely honest, I only look like Scarlett Johansson when I'm showing cleavage.
Yeah.
So I'm convinced that I only have her tits because that's the only time people are like, has anyone ever told you you look like Scarlett Johansson? Or
out.
I forgot that porn star's name.
I know who you're
but the porn
about.
star.
Yep.
That
also forgot her name.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. But like I also only get her when you can see cleavage. So I'm like, well, you look like a sad Ben Affleck, and I have fucking Scarlett Johansson.
I mean, it makes sense because Caboose, when he's walking around normal, doesn't look like Ben Affleck because it's only when Ben Affleck's sad that Caboose that they have similarities. I don't know. I might be digging myself a deeper hole. Sorry, guys. Caboose doesn't. He looks like himself when he's just regularly walking around. It's just that scowl is like, I'm like, oh, I understand.
No, I've never like seen it where I was like, yeah, 100%. And then I was like, oh no, that's a picture of my husband holding Dunkin' Donuts.
Totally.
Yep. So those were actually the main points that I had to discuss today is Caboose looks like sad Ben Affleck. And why can't you feel butt cracks?
Yeah,
y'all
tell us.
I need more information on this.
Send us sad Ben Affleck photos and then also tell us the butt crack.
Don't send us butt crack photos, please. I don't want that.
Just Ben Affleck.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm going to throw it over to you and say, what's your win for the week? Because we can't skip wins. We got yelled at about that. I say yelled at. Really, it just means somebody brought it to our attention.
My win for the week is balancing panic and pure peace all at once.
I love that.
Yes, that's my win for the week. And yourself?
My win for the week is sitting in a place of pride
Fuck yeah.
that I'm genuinely proud of all we've accomplished.
Yes.
It's literally like fucking been a month and 1 day since we signed a lease and we have a business. And though we're still trying to fight to get the health department to come out to us.
That's why I'm panicking, you guys. But I also know that, like, hippy dippy, everything happens for a reason. It'll happen when it's meant to happen, but, you know.
Yeah.
Good.
But we're not going to just, like, passively wait because it's been, like, 20 days.
Yes, too long.
Or I guess more accurately, it's been, like, 25 days since we gave them our paperwork and they haven't done anything. But just sitting in a place of, like, pride and looking at our business and being really happy with, A, how much we accomplished, and then the ridiculously dumb timeline of a month to completely gut and renovate a place.
I'm so excited to post the vlog. I'm so excited. It's coming out tomorrow. Yeah. So
she's really excited.
I'm very excited.
I have not watched it. I've seen little clips of it. It is beautifully chaotic. So if you like the chaos of us,
the vlog's for you.
Yeah.
It's not an instructional video on how to open up a shop. Period. It literally just feels like you're taking a step into my brain and all the hard work, seeing everything
what a
come
good
together.
idea. We could do an episode on that, on like the instruction side of like all the shit that's behind the scenes.
Yeah, like an actual TEDx talk. Yeah, that would be smart.
Yeah. Let us know if you guys want us to do that. You might be like, no, that's stupid. That's boring. I don't want to fucking hear about like how to open a business. You guys are just figuring it out too. We're not experts.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that note, we love you so much. We'll see you back next week. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about. Maybe it'll be deep. Maybe it'll be butt cracks.
Could be both.
Yeah, could be both.
All right.
All right. We love you so much. Bye.
See ya. I have to pee so